Students.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, students. In the previous class that we had discussion about that pyrophyta, that is dinoflagellates, and you know about that of the dinoflagellates and how the cell wall formed of that of cell plates of made of cellulose. Okay, and we had also discussion about there how they that means seawater that means gonia looks how that made it that color red color, that is red color dinoflagellates that we had know, and it also releases toxin to the surrounding, and that surrounding water become toxic, and so that many that marine animals, small animals like that of fish, they are the victims of that of such toxin. Okay, and we had also discussion about that of bioluminescence, that property that some dinoflagellates like that of Conia looks, they present, that means some type of bioluminescence presence in their body, and show they make that means in the night time if you will have to see the sea water, you will see just like a Diwali, and because it is going to that phosphorescence presence in their body. Okay, and so that we had also knew about that for two flagella, that is dinoflagellates. Dinoflagellates have two flagella, that one longitudinal and another one is transverse, and both are equals and of the same size, and such flagella help in the movement of that of dinoflagellates, and so you know about their reproduction type of reproduction, and that binary fission is the important mode of reproduction asexually, that dinoflagellates do, and then sexual reproduction is to that of fusion of gametes. Okay, so you know about that of pyrophyta, that is dinoflagellates. Today we will have to know about that of euglenophyta. Euglenophyta, you know that is all about that of euglena, and then we'll have to know about the slime molds, that is Myxomycota. Okay, students, today we'll have to discuss about the two topics, that is one is that of Euglenophyta, that is euglena. You'll have to know about that of euglena, and then you'll have to know about that of Myxomycota, and the Myxomycota, that is slime molds. We'll have to know about that of slime molds. So two organisms will have to know today, that one is that of euglena and another one is slime molds. Okay, students, so you should have to prepare yourselves how you should have to know all such things. That is euglenophyta. Euglenophyta. Okay, students, that euglenophyta. Euglenophyta, that means euglena. You see that is euglenophyta. That is the division. That is a important third division of that of kingdom. That is Protista. In third kingdom, that is in the kingdom Protista. That is euglenophyte, and from that name itself, you can have to identify that is euglena. And euglena, that is euglena. Euglena is the name of a genus. That is generic name. Okay, there is a generic name. Euglena is a genus, and there are 800 species. That is under euglenophyte. That means under that of under this division, there are 800 species. 800 species, and that euglena, it is a name of a genus. It is a genus. It is a generic part. Generic part, and there are some species. That means some specific epithet. Okay, there are some specific epithet that we will have to know about that of Viridis, Grallis. That is Viridis. One is Viridis, another one is Gracils. These are that of euglena. Among the 800 species, that generic part is that of euglena. Euglena viridis. The name of the organism is Euglena viridis. But you are commonly using just like Panthera, Panthera tigris, Panthera onca, that is Panthera leo. So you are using Panthera, especially that for euglena, and there are 800 species. So you cannot have to name all such species. Even in biology books also, name of such species are not available. Only that you know simply the genus of Euglena. From Euglena itself, you can have to identify that you are knowing about that of Euglena. So Euglena, what is Euglena? What is the status in a category in that of taxonomic category? What is the status of Euglena? Euglena is a genus. That means it is a generic part. In that of a biological classification, that means you'll have to see it that it is a genus. Euglena is a genus, and there are so many 800 species. That is one is that is Viridis, another one is Gracilis. In so many, that is 800 species. For no need of remembering all such things. Only Euglena you have to remember. So under that of this division, there are 800 species, and that is generic part. The genus is that of Euglena. Okay, and that you know that habitat. That means such organism is mostly developed. Most of the organisms of Euglena develops in that of fresh water, in that of stagnant water, especially in a pond, in a landlocked water body, in tank or in pond, in lake. That means we will have to see that of Euglena, development of Euglena. So the main habitat of Euglena is that of small water bodies, the fresh water, that is fresh water, small, that is water bodies, that is especially the tank or that of ponds or lake, where that Euglena develops. Most of the Euglena develop in that of fresh water and in stagnant water they live. That concept of stagnant water you have to remember. Most of, and some species also live in that of sea and in that of marine water, but their percentage is very less, and most of in the fresh water and in stagnant water, that is in landlocked condition, in landlocked state, that is of either that is a pond or lake or tanks, there, that means Euglena live there. So where Euglena live, that question asks, that is in fresh water. Most of them live in fresh water, and that is in stagnant water. Especially the condition of the water is stagnant because it is not flowing water, because they can develop in flowing water. They will have to develop in stagnant water. So that Euglena live in that of fresh water. Most of them live in fresh water and in stagnant condition. That will have to remember. Some species also live in that of marine condition also. Okay, and that Euglena, and remember that one is that they lack a definite cellulosic cell wall. That means they lack their cell wall. That means their cell wall lack definite cellulosic cell wall. Instead of they have made of that of pellicule. That means that means that cell wall not covered by the cellulosic cell wall. They lack cellulosic cell wall. That means such organisms lack shell wall of cellulose, made up of cellulose. Instead of that, you can have to, that is pellicule. What is pellicule? That is a protein layer. You have to find it on that of cell. That means on the body, on the upper part of that body. That means a layer, a protein layer is present. That is called pellicule. And going to that region, such organism is very flexible. It is flexible. That means going to that lack of cell wall, that you remember that of mycoplasma, that is called of jokers of plant kingdom. Just like that in Euglena, there is no cellulosic cell wall. There is no definite cellulosic cell wall, and so that instead of cell wall, there is a layer. There is a proteinaceous layer that is called pellicule. Okay, so which layer is present? Pellicule layer is present. Going to that of pellicule, that means that makes the organism flexible, and it can have to move also. That means from one place to another also it can move. It has two. That means there are two. You will have to see that they have two flagella. There are two flagella. That is, one is that of long, another one is that of short. They have two flagella. That means one is that of long, another one is short. But remember that in case of the dinoflagellates, they have two flagella also, but they are equally in a, that means in lengthwise they both have sense, as well as one is that of transversely grow, another one is longitudinally grow. But in such case, there are two flagella, that is one is the long one, another one is short one. Okay, they have two flagella. So Euglena have two flagella, one is a long one, another one is short one. And instead of that cell wall, they have a protein layer. That means that is called pellicles. Okay, that is called pellicles. That is a protein rich layer, and that make their body flexible. So that this pellicle layer, that means this protein layer, instead of cell wall make the body rigid to some extent. But if instead of cell wall, that is cellulosic cell wall, if pellicle is present, a proteinaceous cover is present, that means what it will make? It will make that body flexible. Okay, students. So you remember that instead of cellulosic cell wall, that the cell, that means the body part is covered by a proteinaceous layer, and that proteinaceous layer is called pellicle. Okay, that term you have to remember, pellicle. And they have two flagella. One is long, another one is short. Okay, another one is short. And here you will have to find that nucleus. Here that means you have to find that chloroplast. Okay, and the contractile vacuole also presents. And so that you will have to find out that they have two flagella. One is the long one, another one is short one. So in case of a habitat, they mostly they live in that of fresh water and in stagnant condition. That first point. Second one is that their body lacks cellulosic cell wall. They lack definite cellulosic cell wall. Instead of that, they have, okay, instead of that, they have a proteinaceous layer that is called pellicle. Okay, that is called pellicle. That you will have to remember, pellicle. And they have two flagella. One is longer one, another one is shorter. Okay, so they have two flagella. One is long, another one is short. Okay, so that you'll have to remember that two concepts about their habitat and about their cell structure, about their cell wall. That means they lack cell wall. Instead, they have body covering. That covering is a pellicle. Pellicle is a proteinaceous layer. Okay, it is a layer of protein. Okay, that you'll have to remember. And they have two flagella. One is longer, another one is shorter. Okay, then students, that they have, that means they serve as a connecting link. That means in Euglena, we'll have to find that there is a connecting link because they are photosynthetic. Because Euglena are photosynthetic. Euglena are photosynthetic. Euglena are photosynthetic. But up to the extent light is available, the light is available, Euglena are photosynthetic. They are photosynthetic. But if light is absent, if there is no light, that means they will switch over to saprobic. Okay, they will switch over to that of saprobic. That means they will have to. That means search for food. They will have to pray. They will have to pray because they have no other scope of living. They will have to. That means they will pray other creatures. They will pray other creatures. So that they are photosynthetic as long as light is available. If light is absent, then Euglena can switch over to saprobic mode of nutrition. Okay, in absence of light, Euglena switch over to saprobic mode of nutrition. Going to that region, there is a mixotrophic mode of nutrition. In Euglena, you can have to find mixotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay, mode of nutrition. The mixotrophic in the sense that is they are photosynthetic. They can have to do nutrition that is a photosynthetic. They can have to live doing that of photosynthesis. But if light is not available, if light is not available to them, how the photosynthetic activities will going on? So how can they will have to live? Because only on the lighting condition, that means when light is available, as far as light is available to them, they will have to prepare their own food. They will have to do the photosynthetic work. But if light is absent, if there is no availability of light, then they will have to switch over to that of a saprobic mode of nutrition. They will have to adopt the saprobic mode of nutrition. That means they will have to prey small creatures. They will have to prey small creatures, and they will have to maintain the of their food requirement. Okay, they can have to. That means they can have to achieve their food requirement by that saprobic mode of nutrition. Going to that region, the mode of nutrition of the euglena is mixotrophic. So most of that of euglena are in the mixotrophic mode of nutrition. That students will have to understand. Okay. That is mixotrophic mode of nutrition. So euglena, you know that euglena are photosynthetic as far as light is available. But if light is not available, they will have to live. How they will have to live? They will have to switch over to other mode of nutrition. That is saprobic. Going to that region, there is mixotrophic mode of nutrition is available. That means is found in most of that of euglena. So you have to remember that concept. Okay. Then students, just I am asking you to that how many species are found in that of division Euglenophyta? How many species?
800 species.
800 species. Okay. Then you can tell me that which is the most suitable habitat for the development of euglena?
Fresh water.
Yes, very good.
Fresh water or stagnant water.
Yes. Have they definite cell wall made of cellulose present? Have they definite cell wall of cellulose present or absent? They lack. That means cell wall
Absent.
cellulosic cell absent. Instead of that, which cover? Have you any idea? That is pelliculi. What is pelliculi? It is a
Protein layer.
It is a proteinaceous layer. Then can you students tell me that why the mode of nutrition of euglena is called mixotrophic? Why the mode of nutrition is called mixotrophic? Anyone can tell? Hello students, that I have told you that why the mode of nutrition of euglena is called mixotrophic. I have already told you that generally euglena do that of a photosynthetic mode of nutrition. Okay, it is generally happen as long as light is available. But if light is not available, how can they have to live? They have to switch over to other mode of nutrition. That is saprobic mode of nutrition. And in saprobic mode of nutrition, that means that euglena prey small creatures. So saprobic mode of nutrition. So that is called mix. Going to that region, going to the adoption of two mode of nutrition. One is that of photosynthetic, another one is that of saprobic. That mode of nutrition is called mixotrophic mode of nutrition. In that of the entire Protistan kingdom, mixotrophic mode of nutrition is found in euglena. But in other, that means a division, that means there are some species which are photosynthetic. They are rigid photosynthetic, obligate photosynthetic. They will have to do that photosynthetic activities, photosynthetic nutrition. There are other organisms, they can be saprobic. They are obligate saprobic. But in case of that euglena, they have to change. That is facultative. they are facultative. Facultative, I have told you that in that sense, if they will have to one nutrition, but under compelling circumstances, they will switch over to other mode of nutrition. So owing to that reason, mixotropic mode of nutrition is found in Euglena. Okay, mixotropic in the sense that the two mode of nutrition available for one organism, that is photosynthetic as well as that of saprobic. Okay, students. So that is mixotropic mode of nutrition. Okay. Then come to that of the pigments of euglenoids. That means the pigments of euglenoids are same as that of plants. Are same as that of plants. That means they have the pigments. What type of pigments you will have to find in euglena? Same as that of plants. So pigments, whatever pigments are available on plants, same are available on euglena also. That is chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophylls and beta carotene. Okay, such pigments, which pigments are available on plants, that pigments also available on that of euglena. Which pigments? That first one is that of chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, beta carotene and that of xanthophylls. All such pigments are available on that of euglena. Okay, so euglena. So owing to that, I have already told you that euglena serve as a connecting link between that of plants and animals. I have told you that plants in mixotropic nutrition, you understood that they doing that a photosynthetic mode of nutrition. They also switch over to that saprobic mode of nutrition, and they have also plant-like activities because all the plant pigments are available on them. That is chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, beta carotene, and that of xanthophylls. All such pigments are also available on euglena. Okay, student. So that means you can have to find that of chlorophyll A, that is chlorophyll B, and we'll also find out that of beta carotene, and that of xanthophylls. Okay, xanthophylls. All such pigments which are found on plants are also found on that of euglena. Okay, so euglena. So euglena also that of plant-like organisms. Also doing that like that of plant-like organisms, because presence of such pigments which are available on that of plants. So that concept you have to remember. Okay, all the pigments found on plants are also available on that of euglena. Okay, then you come to that the reserve food materials is paramylon. The reserve food material. Okay, the reserve food material is paramylon. That is paramylon. A reserve food material. That is reserve food material. Reserve food material is that of paramylon. That we'll have to remember. That is a photosynthetic product. What is paramylon? That is a photosynthetic. That is a photosynthetic product. That is a photosynthetic product. That is paramylon. Paramylon is a food material. It is a food material that is available on euglena. That is paramylon. What is paramylon? That is a photosynthetic product. As euglena generally do that photosynthetic activities, so they have to get the photosynthetic product, that is paramylon, and they will have to reserve it. They will have to reserve it on their, whenever there is need, they will have to utilize it. So reserve food material, the reserve food source is that of paramylon. That concept you have to remember. Have you remembered that reserve food that is a reserve food material for that of dinoflagellates? Have you remembered, students? That
paramylon.
Starch and
Oil.
oil. Very good. Starch and brilliant. Starch and oil. Very good. And then we will have to know about their asexual mode of reproduction. Asexual mode of reproduction, that is a longitudinal binary fission. That is longitudinal binary fission. Okay, binary fissions. That means longitudinal, and you know that binary fissions, that is division of cells into two equal parts, and that means even equal parts, and even that of not equal. That means in case of diatoms, they are not equals. In case of that of dinoflagellates, they are also not equal. Even also in that of euglena, that is also not equal. Okay, that is also not equal. But at any time, only diatoms at night time. But for that euglena, any time, the daytime or night time. So cell will be divided into two unequal parts, and that will be at daytimes or night times. That we'll have to remember. So which type of binary fission? That is longitudinal. I had told you transverse binary fission, longitudinal binary fissions, irregular binary fissions, and oblique binary fission. There are four binary fissions available. That is binary fissions means, that is bi means two, that is two. It will be cell will divide into two parts. That is binary fission, and especially it is found in that of that is organism, that is unicellular organism. Binary fission, especially in that of that is small organism, especially that is unicellular organisms. Okay, so longitudinal binary fission. And another point that you remember, that sexual reproduction is not available. That means it is not found. That is, sexual reproduction is not found in the organism of a euglena. That concept you have to remember, because there is no sexual reproduction till now has been found from that of a euglena. So that is a sexual reproduction, that euglena lacks sexual reproduction. Only that means what type of reproduction? That means asexually reproduced, by which means that is binary fission. Which type of binary fission? That is longitudinal. Okay, students. So this is all about that of euglena. In your that of that means very little has been given, but I have given something else, but you have to just remember, because there are only 5 to 6 lines in our book about that of euglena, especially that of euglena, that is 800 species. That is not in a course, but I have told you extra. And euglena, that is a genus, that is the generic names, and there are so many species, 800 species. And about that of habitat, I have told you freshwater, and mostly in freshwater, in stagnant water. And I have told you that I have told you all such things, so you might have remembered. There is no problem. Students, you have completely understood that of euglena?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then come to that of myxomycota. Okay, then we will have to know about that slime molds. That is myxomycota. Myxomycota. Okay, then come to that of myxomycota. Okay, that is myxomycota. Myxomycota, that means it is in, that means it is a division, that is phylum of that of that is kingdom, that is Protista. Okay, it is a division that of Myxomycota, that is a division of the kingdom Protista, and that Myxomycota covers that of slime molds. Okay, what you will have to remember about that of slime molds. Okay, slime molds. And you students know that this Myxomycota is neither a plant-like organism. It is more is type of a, it is a type of a, that is fungi. That means an animal-like organism. An animal, and so owing to that reason they are called Protistan animal. Owing to that reason they are called also Protistan fungi, and they are also consumer decomposer protists. They are also called, that is consumer decomposer protists. Okay, they are called consumer decomposer protists because completely they are heterotrophic. Completely they are heterotrophic and saprobic, and some are also parasitic. And that slime, that means what about, you will have to read about that of slime molds. That is, slime means that is slippery. Slime means that is slippery. Okay, students, that is thick and slippery liquid substance. Slime means that is thick and slippery liquid substance. That is molds means that is fungi. Okay, that is fungi, that is fungi, that is molds, that is fungi. Slime means that is thick and slippery liquid substance. Students, suppose in a that means we have a you have kept water. Suppose in a suppose in your tank. That means in water tank of your house. That means that is water, and that means for several months. That means such water did not clean, and on the lower side, at the bottom side of the that tank, you will see that certain organisms develops. And if you will have to, that means if you will have to just put your leg, or that means hands also for that of experimental basis, you will have to see that there are certain slippery. And even that of bathrooms, that means in toilets also, that means suppose you don't have to clean it, that is floor, you don't have to clean it for several months, and you will have to mark it that of slippery conditions. But it is owing to that development of such organisms, that is slime molds. Okay, slimes means that is thick and a slippery liquid substance. Molds means that is fungi. So that is completely fungi. That means organisms are completely fungi in the sense that they decompose. They are indulged in that of decomposition work. So they are decomposers as well as they are consumers, because they consumes. They consumes, and from that producer, you know that in a, that means in a ecosystems there are producer, consumer, and a decomposer. Okay, decomposer. In an ecosystem, there are mainly that of three types of organisms. Some are producer, some are consumer, some are decomposers. But if consumers are absent, that means that is producer and decomposers are present. That means such organism also a complete ecosystem. If producer absent, only consumer present and decomposer present, such ecosystems not a complete, incomplete ecosystems. But if consumer and decomposers are present, that is consumer and decomposer, that is incomplete ecosystem. But if producer and consumer are present, they are complete ecosystems. That if producer and decomposer are present, that is a complete ecosystem. For ecosystem, there are three wings: producer, consumer, and decomposers. Okay, you know that all the green plants, that photosynthetic, that is also that is a breed in algae or that of algae to that of all plant parts. They are a producer, and a consumer, you know that those are depend on that of producers, and that means a decomposer, they will have to decompose both the producer as well as those are consumer also. So a ecosystem is complete if producer and decomposers are present. And if both the three are, that means all the three, producer, consumer, decomposer are present, ecosystem is a that means is a active ecosystem. It's a complete ecosystem. But if some way consumer are absent, only producer and decomposers are present, that is also an active or complete ecosystems. And if producer absent, only consumer and decomposer presents, that is inactive ecosystem. That is ecosystem is not complete, incomplete. If producer, consumer present, decomposer absent, that is also incomplete. Incomplete in the sense both three, that means all the three, or producer, decomposers, and in other cases that is incomplete ecosystem. So you remember that is those who are indulged in decomposers, they play the important role for our earth, for our ecosystem. They play very important role because they decompose, clean the other, that means products, and that means inorganic, that means what they decompose and they release the inorganic elements. So that things happens, so that ingredients, that means what are the inorganic ingredients what plants needed, that are supplied by that of a decomposer. So slime molds, that what you are going to read now, that is slime means that you understood that thick and slippery liquid substance, and molds means fungi. Okay, and they are called consumer decomposer protists. They are also called that of that is fungi protist. Also, they are also called fungi protist. Okay, and another thing that we'll have to remember that they are called that connect that they are also called that a connecting link. That means between that of that is fungi and to that of animal. They also make a connecting link. Why they are called fungi and they are also called as animal? Because that of that is amoeba, that is that plasmodium in that of slime molds. Also you will have to know about that of plasmodium. Similarly, you know that in case of protozoa, that is plasmodiums, which cause that of malaria diseases. So that plasmodium, that means amoeboid plasmodium, that are available in that of sporozoa, that are also similar type of plasmodium also available in that of slime molds. So going to that region, it is animal-like organisms. And why it is called that of fungus? That is, it is a fungi. Why it is called as that is a fungus? It is going to that region. That means they develop spore. That means that is fungi-like spore. They develop fungi-like spore. Going to that spores which are produced by that slime molds, similar to that of fungi. Going to that region, they are called also that of protistan fungi. They are called protistan fungi owing to that of structure of spores. That formation of spore similar to that of fungi. So they are called protistan fungi. They are also called animal in the sense that their plasmodium is same as that of plasmodium of that is protozoa. Owing to that region, they are also animal-like organisms. They are also that is fungal, that is like fungi. So they are called protistan fungi. Okay, students. Then come to that of and they are very interesting and peculiar organisms. Very interesting and peculiar organisms, because you can find that they are all indulge in that of process of decomposition. They indulge in that of process of decomposition, and they are interesting in the sense that they look like as that of less than known like that of a plant. They don't like that of plant. They better look like that of animal, or they look like that of fungi. So going to that region, they are called a peculiar and more interesting of all the protists. Of all the protists, limemolds, they are very interesting and peculiar. So that slime molds that we'll have to read, that means they are very interesting and peculiar organisms. They are called protistan. That they are called protistan fungi. They are also called that animals. They are also called the consumer and decomposer organisms. Okay, and why they are called that? Why they are called animal-like organisms and that is fungal-like organisms? I discussed, and you might have known all sorts things. That concept you have to remember. Okay, students. Then that means that slime molds. Why they are called slime molds? It is because they are on the vegetative on the period of vegetation. That is slime molds. That means they look like that of slime. That look like that of slime mass. They look like that of that is slime mass. They look like that of mass, and because they look like that of slippery like and thick and slippery like condition on the part of that of vegetation. That means on the vegetative parts. On the vegetative parts, they look like that of slime mass. Going to that region, they are called slime molds. Okay, they are called that of slime molds. And then we will have to remember that means they are of that of 500 species. There are 500 species of that of slime molds. slime molds are of 500 species. There are 500 species of slime molds available, and then they on the vegetative time they look like that of a slime mass, and going to that region they are called that is slime molds. They are called slime molds. Okay, and then their species number is that of 500. Okay, and they are completely saprophytic. They are completely saprophytic protists. They are completely saprophytic protists. Okay, and their mode of nutrition is that of a saprobic mode of nutrition. That is saprobic. The mode of nutrition is saprobic mode of nutrition, and that some are that of that is parasitic, and some are parasitic, but mostly they have a saprobic mode of nutrition. They have saprobic mode of nutrition as they are indulged in the process of decomposition in decay. So they have saprobic mode of nutrition, and they are also that of parasitic. Some are parasitic mode of nutrition. So according to that of mode of nutrition, they are mostly saprobic, and then they are also some are also parasitic. Okay. Some are that of saprobic, some are also parasitic. So there are two modes of nutrition. Okay, and that in vegetative parts they don't have cell wall. That means that slime molds don't have cell walls. Okay, and under suitable condition they have plasmodium. They lack cell wall. That means they lack cell walls. They lack cell walls. And under that of favorable condition, they develop to that of plasmodiums. Okay, plasmodiums. They develop plasmodiums under that of suitable condition. That means they entire their body structure, entire their life period, life cycles. That means under that of plasmodium, just like that of malaria parasites. That means you know that plasmodium which causes malaria parasite diseases, and similarly that, but they are not that plasmodium is not that type of that is protozoa, because you know that protozoans they have disease formation and they are parasitic in nature, but in that plasmodium they are saprobic, and that you will be surprised to know that protoplasma, that means protoplasma of a plasmodium, that is protoplasma. Okay, protoplasma of a plasmodium is the purest thing in this world. Okay, it's the most purest one. It's the purest in the living world. Which one is the purest in the living world? That is protoplasma of plasmodium. Even other organism protoplasma is not so pure as that of protoplasma of plasmodium. So plasmodium of slime molds, and in that plasmodium, the protoplasma, that protoplasma is purest. It's the purest. That means it's the purest in that of world. That means in the living world, it is the most purest form. It is the most purest in the living world. That you will have to remember. That protoplasma. How when plasmodium develop in slime molds in favorable condition. In favorable condition, plasmodium is the life process. It is the life that is doing all the living activities. It is doing all the living activities of that of slime molds, and all the lively activities and all the life activities are being done by that plasmodium. And that protoplasma which is present in plasmodium is the purest in the living world. Only the purest living world that is protoplasma of plasmodium. It is the purest in the living world. And that plasmodium become fruiting bodies when unfavorable condition arises. When unfavorable condition arises, when that weather is not conducive for the development of slime molds, at that time plasmodium develop fruiting bodies, and from fruiting bodies spore formation started. So remember that That means Plasmodium, it was on the normal stage, slime molds like an animal. On the, that means at the normal stage, at the favorable condition at the normal stage, that slime molds that is in Plasmodium forms and doing all the life activities. But when that unfavorable condition arises, that means Plasmodium, how Plasmodium will live? It cannot form that cyst because there is no cell wall. How can it will have to live? It will have to develop fruiting body, students. So what they will have to develop? They will have to develop fruiting bodies. Okay, Plasmodium. Plasmodium will develop fruiting bodies when unfavorable situation arises, and that fruiting bodies will develop into that of spores. Okay, spores. There is no infestation, there is no sporulation, there is no multiple pigeon in that of slime molds. Slime molds completely depends upon that of Plasmodium for their living, and that Plasmodium in favorable condition. Favorable condition, when unfavorable situation arise, that means Plasmodium develops fruiting bodies, and from that it is unfavorable situation. In that unfavorable situation, and that fruiting bodies will develop into spore. It will develop into spore when normal situation arise, and from that spore, that is millions and millions of slime molds will develop. So that is the process of that is their life process. In normal situations, slime molds completely depend upon that Plasmodium which lacks cell wall. There is no cell wall on that Plasmodiums. And that develop will be into fruiting bodies. Or when that is abnormal or unfavorable situation arises, and that fruiting bodies will develop spore, and there are cell walls in the spores. Spores have cell wall, but Plasmodium lacks cell wall. That concept you have to remember. Spores have cell walls. Spores have cell walls, and they will have to. That means that spores will have to. Okay, students, that spores are dispersed by air currents, and that spores are dispersed by air currents. Okay, that spores will disperse by air current. So what you have understood, in normal situation, Plasmodium do their life activities by that of Plasmodiums. And when that unfavorable situation arises, and that Plasmodium converts into that of fruiting bodies, that fruiting bodies develop into spores, and that spores have cell walls, and that spores will disperse by air currents to different places, and that's each spore will be one organism. That slime molds will develop from that of spores. Okay, so that is the process of their living. That is slime molds livings, and that Plasmodium shows that that Plasmodiums have amoeboid movement. That is Plasmodium, that they have amoeboid movement because they have pseudopodia. So pseudopodia, Plasmodiums have pseudopodia, and they have amoeboid movement. Okay, that students you have to remember that they have amoeboid movement. They have amoeboid movement. Amoeboid movement. It is because they have pseudopodia. They have pseudopodia. Okay, where there is a amoeboid movement, there is a term pseudopodia attached to it. That we will have to remember. So that slime molds have locomotions, and that of amoeboid movement. Which type of locomotion? That is amoeboid. And because they develop pseudopodia, and so there is a amoeboid movement for that of slime molds. Okay, and it is generally fixed towards the moisture, and where that slime molds moves to that of small creatures, and to that of small features, and that will avoid light. So slime molds will move. Slime molds will move to that area, where there are small features are available. So amoeboid movement is meant for that of saprobic activities. That is amoeboid movement that is found in that of slime molds is meant for that of that is saprobic in nature, because that means the slime molds will that of engulf, will that of capture the small organisms, and that means that will also avoid light. That means amoeboid movement, that is pseudopodia, will not develop. Pseudopodia will only develop when there is absence of light. So that amoeboid movement will be towards that food source as well as towards the, that is when there is no light, there is a darkness. So those light poles move to that of pseudopodia to the food source as well as to that of a dark area when there is a no scope of light. That concept you have to remember. That is most important is that of plasmodium, which lacks cell wall, unfavorable condition arise, switch over to fruiting bodies. Fruiting bodies develop into spores when that normal situation arises, and that spore will be dispersed by air currents, and each spore will be new organisms. How that slime molds move? Slime molds moves by that of amoeboid movement, and because they develop pseudopodia when that of darkness arises. That means when there is no source of light, slime molds will develop pseudopodia. So they will have amoeboid movement. Where they will have to go? They will have to go to the food source in the darkness. In the darkness, they will have to reach the food source through that of pseudopodia. That concept is very important for you. And where they disperse, spores are dispersed by air currents. That is air currents, not by water. Air currents, and spores have cell wall. Spores have cell wall, plasmodium lacks cell wall. That is the important 3 to 4 points only in that of slime molds. Okay, and they have asexual reproduction by fragmentation. That is by fragmentation. There is no binary fission. There is no fission in that of slime molds. Slime molds adapt to that of fragmentation. They develop through fragmentation. That is very important concept that you will have to remember. The mode of asexual reproduction is fragmentation for slime molds. That is very important, students. And they have a sexual reproduction by fusion of gametes. They have sexual reproduction, but euglena have no sexual reproduction, and they have sexual reproduction, that is fusion of gametes. Okay, fusion of gametes. You know that fusion of gametes in the meiosis, no need of elaboration. Here I will have not to discuss about it. So that is important is that the asexual mode of nutrition is through that of fragmentation, and the sexual reproduction available for that of is found in slime molds. That concept, students, you have to remember. Okay, students, and then that means example. Give some slime molds examples if anyone asks to you. That means you can have to that tubifera. That is one is that of tubifera. It is one example of that of tubifera that you will have to remember. Another one is that of Ficharella. That is one. Another one is that is relevant. And the third one is that of that is Fijarua. That is Fijarua. That is Fijarua. These are the examples of that of slime molds. Okay, that is tubifera, it is slime mold. Ficharella, it is slime mold, and the Fijarum, it is also slime molds. And you know that there are how many species? Students, have you remembered how many species are found in slime molds?
500.
500. Very good. 500 species. Very good. Brilliant. There are 500 species. And why they are called students? Why they are called as protistan fungi? Why they are called protistan fungi? What do you remember?
Because they develop fungi-like spore.
Yes, very good. They develop fungi-like spore. Brilliant. Why they are called animal-like organism? Because they have plasmodium, same like that of a protozoa. You know that protozoa is an animal that is it is a phylum of a animal kingdom, protozoa. So it is plasmodium. Protozoan plasmodium is similar to that of a slime molds plasmodiums. Going to that region, such organisms are also called animals. Okay, only 3 to 4 concepts is very important. Only 3 to fruiting bodies, plasmodiums, development of spores, and fragmentations, and lax cell wall plasmodium stage, and in the spore stage, cell walls are available. Cell walls are present. That is important. Very important that they are heterotrophs and they are completely heterotrophs, saprobic in nature. Few are parasitic in nature. Only such concepts are very important that we will have to remember, students. Okay, and if you have to draw that up, you will see that you will have to draw diagram of that of slime molds. You will see that is slime layer, that is slime, and they are multinuclear. So many nuclei are available in slime molds. So many nuclei. They are nucleus. Okay. That way you have to remember. This is the diagram of that of and the slime mass of here we will have two slime layers, and that is rich in protoplasma. Protoplasma. And you know that is purest in living. In the living world, it is the purest. It is present there. Okay, in that because they lack cell wall. It's plasmodium, so that, and there are several nucleus. So there are so many nuclei. That is multi-nuclear organisms, and that means these are the nucleus. Okay, students, and then I have already told you that all about that of slime molds. It is very easy, only to 3 to 4 lines that you will have to remember, and also euglena. Okay, students, now you come to students. Have you any doubt in that of slime molds?
No,
Yes or
sir.
no? Okay.
No, sir.
Then, students, if you ask, then tomorrow you also ask me. If you have any doubt, then tomorrow you ask me also. And now you come to that of 5 MCQs. Then select the correct pair. Students, first question is that select the correct pair. That is, first question is that select the correct pair. Okay, students, first question is that select the correct pair. Correct pair. That is A, Desmids. Okay, Desmids. That is producer in the ocean. Then diatoms. Golden algae. Okay. Then see that of Hypotheca. That is the upper part of cell of diatoms. Upper part of cells of diatoms. Okay. Upper part cells of diatoms. Then pustule, cells of diatoms. Then pustules. Cells of diatoms. Students, have you any idea? Select the correct pair. Desmid, producer in the ocean. Diatoms, golden algae. Hypotheca, upper part of cells of diatoms. and the crustules, cells of diatoms. Which one is correct? Aditya present, Aditya?
Sir, option B.
Option
B.
B. Very good, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. That option B is the right answer. You see that Desmid is the golden algae. Diatoms producer in the ocean. Hypotheca, this is not hypotheca, is the lower part of the cells of diatoms. Okay, hypotheca is the lower part. So which one is correct? Crustule. Crustule is called cells of diatoms. Very brilliant, very brilliant. Okay, so crustule is the cells of diatoms. Then come to that of question number 2. Which of the following dinoflagellates has no property of bioluminescence? Then question number 2. Which of the following dinoflagellates? Which of the following dinoflagellates lack the property of has no property of bioluminescence, has no property of bioluminescence. Okay, which of the following dinoflagellates has no property of bioluminescence? That is Blastrodinium, then Goniolus, okay. Then we will come to that of Pyrosis, and D is in Noctiluca. Which one? Which of the following dinoflagellates have no property of bioluminescence? Blastrodium, Gynolux, that is Pyrocytes, Noctiluca. Which one, students? Option?
C.
Here. Swagatika, are you present?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell?
Sir, option D. Sir, option D. Sir, V.
That means three are
Sir, option D.
Option D, not option D. Option? Anyone? Olive present?
Yes, sir.
Right answer
Sir,
is
option B. Sir, option B.
Option C, sir.
option A.
Sir, option A.
Option A, Blastrodium. Blastrodium, the colorless, I had told you, it is a colorless dinoflagellates and it has no property of bioluminescence. That is Gynolux, Pyrosis and Noctilla. They are the property of a bioluminescence. Gynolux, you know that it is for that of a toxin and a red tide. Gynolux, that is red tide and that of a toxin. And the other two are Pyrosis and Noctilla. They have property of bioluminescence. Okay, and the Blastrodium is a colorless dinoflagellates, which is parasitic in nature. Parasitic in nature. Okay, students. Then come to that of question number 3. Number of flagella. Question number 3. The number of flagella found in the cell structure of Goniolus. Question number 3. The number of flagella present in the cell structure of Gonialus is 1, 2, 3, 4. The number of flagella present in the cell structure of Gonialus is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sir, 2. Option B.
Yes, good.
Yes, sir.
Two is the right answer. Are you know that Gonialus is a dinoflagellate? Dinoflagellate means there are 2 flagella. So 2 is the right answer. Question will be formed like this way. Not dinoflagellates, anyone can answer 2. But question will be set in that form. The number of flagella present in the cell structure of Gonialus, that is 2. Very brilliant. Then come to that of question number 4. The characteristic score of diatoms are called. The next question, students. Question number 4. Question number 4. The characteristic scores. The characteristic scores of diatoms are called A. Juice score, conidiospores. Okay, conidiospores. Then come to that of conidiospores, then oxospores, sporangiospores. Sporangiospores, then B. Oxospores. Which one, students? The characteristic spores of diatoms are called zoospore, conidiospore, sporangiospore, oxospores. Any idea, students?
Sir, option C.
Yes, oxospores. That is oxospores. Very good. Oxospores. The characteristic spores of diatoms are called oxospores. Not zoospore, conidiospores. They are found in that zoospore, conidiospores, sporangiospores. In that kingdom fungi, you will have to find also things. But oxospore is the characteristic spores of diatoms. Oxospores. That point you have to remember. I have already told you. Okay, the last question. Select the incorrect statement regarding dinoflagellates. Last question, students. Select the incorrect statement regarding dinoflagellates. Question number 5. Select incorrect statement regarding dinoflagellates. Okay, students. Then A is that of they are under the division of pyrophyta. They are under the division of pyrophyta. Okay, they are under the division of pyrophyta. Then their cell plates are made up of cellulose. Their cell plates are made up of, their cell plates are made up of cellulose. Then students, the third question is that the main mode of their asexual reproduction. The main mode of asexual reproduction is multiple fission. Okay, and then the second one is that they release toxin. Some of them release toxin to their surroundings. Which one is that incorrect one, students? They are under the division of pyrophyta. True or false?
True.
True. Yes. This one true. Their cell plates are made of cellulose. True or false? I have told you that their cell plates are made of cellulose. So this one also true.
Sir, option D.
Reproduction
option
is
D.
multiple pigeon. True or false?
Sir, answer is option D.
Yes, that is not multiple pigeon. Binary pigeon. So this one is the wrong statement. Which was the incorrect statement? The main mode of asexual reproduction is multiple pigeon. It will be binary pigeon. So this statement is wrong. Some of them release toxin to their surrounding. This one is correct because gonia looks release. Okay, students. Thank you. Now time is done. So you have to remember. Okay, you have to remember also this question. Okay, thank you, students. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.